Do you have any idea how weak countries outside the P5 really are? Even if the entire rest of the world teamed up against the P5, they still wouldn't stand a chance. Since the war broke out, the Russian offensive has hit one wall after another. And it's exactly this battlefield performance that's led plenty of non-P5 countries to the wrong conclusion, thinking the P5's military might isn't all it's cracked up to be. Among these countries, India stands out the most, having publicly stated multiple times that it wants to officially join the UN's Permanent Five. In several global military rankings over the years, India has repeatedly outranked the UK and France, holding steady at fourth in the world. That impressive-looking ranking has given India a huge confidence boost, prompting them to repeatedly file applications to join the Permanent Five. Unfortunately, every single application gets shot down by the P5's veto power. If you just look at the numbers on paper, India's military scale is genuinely impressive and ranks high on the global stage. As a maritime nation surrounded by ocean on three sides, the Indian Navy has fielded its own domestically built nuclear submarines and operates 2 active aircraft carriers. The Indian Army has crossed the 1 million mark in active personnel, and its main battle tank fleet has reached over 3,000 vehicles. Compare that to the UK and France, whose Army, Navy, and Air Force combined only add up to a few 100,000 troops, much smaller than India. Just based on these basic numbers, India's military is no slouch. Overall, it only trails the big 3 of China, the US, and Russia. And it's exactly this paper strength that has India acting pretty bold on the world stage, with a noticeably hardline attitude. Because of this, there's been a saying floating around internationally that splits the P5 into the stronger top 3 and the relatively weaker bottom 2. The combined military strength of China, the US, and Russia truly is in a class of its own globally, with no other country able to easily match them. Many people therefore believe that the UK and France's current military might no longer lives up to their P5 status. If you only look at surface numbers like equipment counts and troop sizes, that view does seem to hold some water. But we have to face one core reality. Across the entire globe outside of the P5, hardly any country has a complete and independent military R&D and production system. This means the vast majority of today's mainstream advanced weapons are developed and manufactured by the P5. If other countries want to upgrade their arsenals, they have to import weapons from P5 nations. Self-sufficiency is nearly impossible. This underlying reality fundamentally guarantees that the military strength of non-P5 countries will struggle to ever reach top-tier levels. Once a major global war breaks out, the UK and France, which today don't look that impressive, can rely on heavy military spending to scale up their forces quickly and ramp their overall combat power up to a seriously intimidating level. Meanwhile, most of India's seemingly decent military gear is bought from P5 countries. It's either retired equipment or second-hand weapons. Compared to the frontline weapons the P5 actually use, the performance gap is huge. In actual combat, they wouldn't last long. They'd be wiped out easily. It's not that India doesn't want the most advanced modern weapons. It's that the P5 simply won't sell their core cutting-edge equipment. And if India wants to develop and build the same gear on its own, it lacks the complete industrial and technological backbone to do it. Mass production just isn't feasible. You could say that as soon as the P5 stops selling weapons abroad and cut off the supply of related tech and components, other countries' arsenals can't be upgraded at all. They'd be stuck where they are. Once the P5 roll out their next generation of advanced weapons, when they face these other countries, it would be a totally lopsided generation-skipping beatdown. The Gulf War that shocked the world back in the day is a textbook example of P5 nations leveraging their tech edge to completely dominate. At the time, Iraq publicly claimed to be the world's 4th largest military power, with an army of over 1 million and nearly 6,000 main battle tanks. On top of that, Iraq had massive numbers of armored vehicles, all kinds of artillery and combat aircraft. Their overall arsenal was enormous. Just based on paper military strength, Iraq back then was actually even stronger than India is today. Before the war broke out, most countries around the world expected this would be a long, brutal back-and-forth slugfest that wouldn't be settled quickly. But the actual outcome blew everyone's expectations out of the water. The US-led coalition crushed the Iraqi military in just 42 days, leaving them with zero ability to fight back. That war completely rewrote the world's understanding of modern warfare, showing every nation firsthand how modern high-tech warfare absolutely steamrolls traditional outdated military systems. From this, we can draw a clear conclusion. If the P5 chose to focus all their resources on building up their own militaries and stop supplying weapons and tech to anyone else, then the next time another country went head-to-head with the P5, the level of helplessness and despair they'd face would be even worse than what Iraq went through against the US. In the current Russia-Ukraine conflict, Russia's battlefield performance hasn't exactly been impressive. They've struggled to wrap things up quickly against Ukraine. But many people overlook one key point. The pressure on Russia isn't just coming from Ukraine. They're going up against the entire NATO bloc, even with the US and a slew of European powers constantly pumping weapons and resources into Ukraine. The Russian military has held the line and kept fighting. That alone is enough to prove that Russia's true military strength and resilience in war are far greater than they appear on the surface. The fact that Russia, all on its own, can stand toe-to-toe with all of Europe's military power is itself proof of just how strong they are. And if you team Russia up with the US and China, the top three of the P5, it's no exaggeration to say that no force on earth could stand up to them. Throw the UK and France into the mix as well, and once all five P5 nations join forces, even if every other country in the world combined their militaries, all of them together, they'd still be helpless against the P5. So at the core of it, even though the P5 are just 5 countries, the combined power they hold is basically more than half the world. Whether it's economic development or military deterrence, they're way out ahead of every other country. Even if you pooled together every non-P5 nation's strength, you still wouldn't have what it takes to go head-to-head with the P5. A real great power's confidence isn't built on imported gear. It comes from the military industry and grit you hold in your own hands. Look around the globe. The only ones who can develop their own weapons and weather an all-out confrontation are still just the P5. Beneath what looks like a calm world order, strength has always had the final say. Standing on your own 2 feet is the only true source of security.